There we Perfect. All right. Well, welcome everyone, and glad that you're here for session three. This is the Pathways Enrollment and Engagement Pilot, and if you've been with us before, which all of you have, you're welcome. And even if it was your first session, you'd be in exactly the right place. This session is all about something that doesn't show up in Basecamp or in any login screen, but it shapes everything. It's culture. Today, we're going to explore how club culture can either powerfully support pathways or quietly cause it to fade away. Let's start with the big idea. Long-term engagement doesn't come from a single great conversation. It comes from culture. And what I mean by culture is it's what people see and they hear and feel over time in a particular environment. And so today we're going to introduce the Pathways Culture Building Framework. It's a very simple framework. It is the strategy to go along with the two tactics that I shared in previous sessions, the Start Here button and the quick start guide. Those are tools that you just use when it comes up, and you use them often, and you use it effectively when you use it often, when you just get in the habit of doing it. But they're not a strategy in and of themselves. The culture is much more a strategy. A strategy is what you use tactics in. The strategy creates the overall goal and what you're trying to achieve, and all the tactics, if done well, fit within the strategy. And the two tools, the Start Here button and the Quick Start Guide, are tools, but they won't go anywhere. And even if you use them often, they wouldn't go to the best places possible. But when we connect them to the strategy now, we are able to harness them and make them work together and individually, but for one goal. And that one goal, of course, is the Pathways from Day One culture, which in Toastmasters is a growth culture. Because pathways, many people are not really aware of it yet. They don't see it this way, but it's the truth. Pathways is the personal development and professional development program of Toastmasters. If you want to grow personally or professionally, Pathways is the way to do it. I understand that there were different ways of doing it in the past, and I know a lot of people have not really connected to it yet, but they're about to find something very powerful, because as they do connect, they will find some things that they really missed to begin with. And we don't want new members and new people coming in to miss it from day one. We really want them to start right off the bat, getting everything that all the members who were around when the books were around and everything else. We don't want them to lose out on that opportunity. And those things are not there anymore. And if we don't do pathways, there's nothing for them. And so really it's upon us, members are currently, and especially members who have been around a lot longer and have already gotten a lot of personal growth, it's time to support people in what's new for them today, for the new people coming in. And in that way, it really opens up a whole new level of mentorship and bringing value to your club as a person who's been around in the old days. You know, I remember it's about 30 years ago in Chicago, I joined a Toastmasters group, and I remember going there. And last week, I think I said it was in a library, but as I thought about it more, it was actually in a church basement. It's kind of a lot of junk down there. It wasn't the greatest place in the world, but it was a nice place to me. But it wasn't like the environment was just a basement of a church. But when I walked in, you know, and I'm watching the meeting getting going, people have these booklets and they're getting up and doing speeches, and it's obvious that they're based in these booklets. And then I became a member, and then I got the booklet, and you know, we all worked on the books. That's what Toastmasters did, because that was the culture. And I was new to the culture. I saw everybody doing it. I saw the books, and it was like, okay, well, this is what Toastmasters do, and so I did it too. The problem today with Pathways is that Pathways is invisible. Pathways isn't something we carry around with us like books. Pathways exists on a computer, on a server somewhere, and we can only access it when we go and actually access it, tap into it from our device. Other than that, it's out of mind. And the fact that the device we have to tap into Pathways is sometimes complicated to some people doesn't make it any easier to let people know that Pathways is there the way we used to be able to when we had books. So, well, let me get. I'm ahead of myself. Let me go back here. And a growth friendly culture starts here. Pathways shouldn't live only in Basecamp because Basecamp can't be seen. That is where you go to find it, and that's great. That's a perfect place to put it. But if it just sits there, it's only going to sit there, and nobody's going to be able to connect with it because you can't see it. So, like I said, in the old days, people carried around manuals, and now Pathways has to live in our words and our actions. And our words and our actions, when they're done often, become our culture, become our environment. And what people see and hear repeatedly becomes what they believe is normal. And we're really talking about normalizing pathways. Right now, I don't really get the sense, in some places it definitely is normalized, but I don't get the sense that across the board, pathways is normalized. I still feel that pathways for some people is it's mysterious and it's unknown, and in fact it is those things. I understand that, but the thing with things that are mysterious and unknown, when we have to take time to figure them out, is we will tend to get started, realize it's more than we thought, it's harder than we thought, and then we procrastinate. We say, well, I'll get to this later, and then we never do. And unfortunately, I see some smiles there. I do this too. But we miss out a lot when we do that. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're bringing pathways in our actions and in our words, what we say about it. And here's a real key. It's not in saying people need to do it. It's not in telling people what it is and that they need to do it and they would really get a lot out of it, over and over. Okay, once is fine, twice is fine, but people will get the point. And if you keep making that same point, people will become irritated by it, and rightly so, probably. But that's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about here is making it evident that you're growing from pathways and other people are growing from pathways, as the other people in the club talk about it. And it's just evident to anybody that, hey, this pathways thing, I should check this out. This pathways thing, oh, I need to be in that. And then they begin to ask questions and then explain it. Why this matters? Well, culture is what people absorb without being taught. It's the silent teacher in every club. If something isn't being reinforced, people forget it. In the marketing world, it used to be that it was considered necessary to make 7 hits with a logo or with a brand to somebody who was unaware before they would even begin to notice it. And now, with so many hits from so many different brands and so many people marketing to us, they say it's 20, 21, even beyond, I've heard. It's just that there's so much in our environment, in our screen-rich environment, that what happens is we close off everything so that we can continue functioning in our lives. Otherwise, we
Jim,
become. Yes.
are
Yes,
you
sure.
advancing your slides?
Yes. Did you see a new slide?
Well, right now, what
Oh,
mine says is that you've paused the screen sharing.
oh, let me try that again. Oh, Richard, thank you. I see Richard and Deborah. Thank you for letting me know. I was going. I got in there. Man, thank you. Let me reshare, and I may have accidentally hit the pause button. Share. Share. All right. Okay. So I'm going to run through real quickly. I'm not out everything, but we're talking about culture, and it's a part of the District 8 Pathways Enrollment and Engagement Initiative. And sustainable pathways engagement, it doesn't come from just one conversation. It comes from creating a culture of pathways. And then the conversations happen naturally. We're looking at the tool number 3, the Pathways Culture Building Framework. And this is where we start a growth-friendly culture. We don't want it only to live in Basecamp. We want to carry pathways in our words and our actions. And what people see in our words and our actions, they begin to repeat. And the more they repeat it, the more they see it as normal. And the more it's normal, the more it's evident that it's a part of our culture. And why cultures matters. Well, without reinforcement, awareness fades. That's why it's never enough just to tell somebody something new one time, especially when it's pretty complex, like Pathways is. We can say the name just to start. I see them as seeds. Okay, it's a little seed. So I'll start saying the name Pathway right from the beginning as a seed. They won't hear that word probably, but it will register somewhere in their subconscious mind. And then the more seeds I throw, eventually it's like, oh, I've heard of Pathways. What is this? Do I need to know this? And then eventually, oh, wow, everybody's doing Pathways. I need to be on that too. Now, by that point, other people, they've already, started probably with the start here button. So they're already probably working on their icebreaker. So they're probably working their way in through, into Pathways anyway. But if not, they have plenty of opportunity to begin to look into Pathways because they're just aware of it because it's everywhere around them. It's those multiple cues that people need before actually noticing something. But once it's there, that culture creates its own momentum, and that culture creates belonging because people will come in and they'll want to fit in, and they'll see what the culture is, and they'll see that the culture is Pathways, and they'll understand this is how I become a part of these people. So it actually builds belonging, and it then becomes a shared expectation, not an enforced expectation, but rather it's, well, this is what we do here. This is what we're about. And then it just becomes a natural part of life in Toastmasters. So new members will take those cues from what's seen, and they think it's normal. If they come into a club environment and all they're hearing is people talking about the good old days with the booklets and that Pathways is complicated and hard to use, those things are true in their own way. They're true. But it's also true that Pathways is the Toastmasters personal and professional growth program. And for the new people to hook into that, they need to be shown what's there, not what used to be. And this way, if the existing members who have been around for a long time connect with Pathways, even if they don't do Pathways, if they just understand that the growth they had, the tools they had to grow are no longer there, but the new people coming in deserve to grow as well. And in fact, they won't hang around if they don't. So it's really serving the people who have been in the group a long time to promote Pathways, whether they want to do it or not, because it's helping the group to engage new members and keep those new members. And they will when they see that Pathways is just normal. And the Pathways is really a personal growth program. And that's presumably what they're there for. In some way, shape, or form, they see a prospect of personal growth. And Pathways puts them right on their own personal growth program. So they're getting what they came for. Even if they didn't know what Pathways was, they didn't exactly know what it's going to be, they start discovering that, hey, here's what I was looking for, and this is the way to do it. So let me go through tool 3, the Pathways Culture Building Framework. These are 5 simple actions, but they're powerful because when we make them habits, they become something that really shapes a culture that is growth friendly. And once again, in the Toastmasters environment, growth friendly means Pathways friendly. Pathways from day one, because Pathways is the growth program of Toastmasters. So the model is tell, model, recognize, reinforce, and repeat. And surely you're all doing these, one or all of them in your clubs right now for different things. So it's not a big major thing that we have to take on. It's just expanding what we're already doing if we aren't intentionally bringing Pathways into it, and just bringing Pathways intentionally into it. Each of these actions, they don't have to be done in this order. And the more you do any of these actions, the more they will begin to support one another, and they will create a magnetic culture of growth. Why a culture of growth? Because they are all a part of building a growth-friendly culture, in my experience. And to make this easy, we want to make each one a habit, because it's the habits that shape culture. If we manufacture words and ideas and tell other people they need to do it, that takes a lot of energy, and it's hard to maintain that, and it won't be maintained for very long. You'll just forget to do it. But when it becomes a habit and it's fun and it's easy to do, and you are seeing the growth around you, and you're seeing the people that you help to grow, helping other newer people to grow in the same way, you now become a part of a rich, growing environment that is fun and vital to be in. So let me run through with each of these aspects. First off is tell, and it's a certain kind of tell. Okay. Tell is simply talk about pathways often. It's not exactly the tell where you explain it to them. It could be that if, as in a kind of a cursory type of way, just very briefly to introduce somebody to the idea, or if they ask a question, then tell them about pathways. But really, what we're talking here in tell is make sure that you're talking about pathways often, and not directly about it, where you're saying do this, but rather I'm doing this. This is what I'm doing now. Oh, congrats! You did a great job on doing that. Just constantly bring in pathways. People will notice it more when you highlight it. You're basically seeing what's happening, and it's putting a flashlight or a spotlight on it so that people can notice it. So definitely talk about pathways in your own words. There are a lot of really good explanations of what pathways is, on the Toastmasters.org website. Really excellent. You won't find any better, but it's very packed, and it's very it's very dense. And for a new person coming in who has not yet made any kind of inroads, it can be overwhelming. But when you start talking about pathways in your own words, you're really building a rapport with them, and they can then bridge from your words into a more deeper understanding of pathways when they're ready. So just talk about pathways in your own words, what it means to you, what you think it is. Each of these words are not define what you have to do about them. They're just a way to cultivate a growth-friendly culture. But you're going to make these your own, and you're going to express them in your own unique ways as an individual, and then as a group of individuals in a club. And so what your club is going to look like in pathways, there's no definition of what this needs to look like. Make it your own. So bring your own words into it. And do it at key moments. When you welcome guests, you can mention about Pathways is the personal growth program of Toastmasters, or Pathways is the self-guided curriculum. However you would personally put it, tell them about it. And most typically, that would be they're meeting a person and greeting them after or before the meeting. But it's also appropriate for the Toastmaster of the night when she or he is introducing the roles, like the role of the timer or the role of the grammarian. Can also make a mention that for the people doing speeches, they're working on Pathways projects. Pathways is the way that Toastmasters grow personally and professionally through speeches, through doing speech projects, or however you want to put it. The key is that you're mentioning pathways and you're making it normalized. After speeches is a great place. If you've done a speech, the evaluator can throw it in, or the Toastmaster can throw in that speech was done for this project of this particular pathway. The person introducing the speech, often the Toastmaster, should also mention what project that is for. This way, anybody listening understands pathways is where people are getting this stuff from. It's not just happening by accident. It's not just, it's just not magic. This is a program of growth, and which is what they're there for. And here's a little trick: make it sound exciting, not mandatory. Okay. Patty was talking about being the number counter, and 100% I agree with that. Pathways is not really the importance of it in the Distinguished program is not just a box to check off. The importance is it reflects a healthy, growing club environment. And if there's a healthy, growing club environment, every single person who has paid their dues has a better chance of getting the value for their investment that they're putting in the club and in themselves. And so it is important. It's really not mandatory either if you look at it, because will anybody get kicked out of Toastmasters if they don't do pathways? It's not mandatory then. That's not the point. It's the point to do it is not because it's mandatory. The point is to do it because you grow from it, because it's fun to work on the projects. Now, here's the place for leaders to really work and place for a lot of personal growth to happen. In my impression is that a lot of people don't really connect with pathways. A lot of well-meaning Toastmasters who really want to, but they really don't just yet personally connect with pathways. They're not really feeling the relevance of it, or the ease of it, or or actually even the fun of it. And so when they talk about it, that they're talking about it because they feel it's mandatory to talk about it, but they're not yet there where they feel it. And so what you want to do as a leader is kind of connect with pathways. What is good about it? Give it some thought and really connect with it. And then when you make it sound exciting, don't be phony about it. Be authentic. Tell it what you're excited about. If you're not that excited about it, don't say you're super excited about it. Say Pathways is good because, or this or that. You don't have to. Don't manufacture excitement, because A, people will sense that and they'll know it's not authentic, and B, it's high energy to do that, and you end up getting burned out by doing too much of that. So connect with yourself with Pathways, and then share with other people from the place where you're connecting with it at. And in that way, you're able to convey to people an aspect of truth about Pathways, the aspect of truth that comes from you. And the culture is made up of just more than you. And when everybody within that culture is sharing Pathways from where they are, the new person gets a very rich picture of what Pathways is. They get a nice variety. So it's not about everybody saying the same thing with the same level of excitement. It's about you connecting with Pathways, and then at the level of excitement you have for it, authentically express that on purpose and let other people catch their own excitement from it. Cardinal rule here: don't explain, just invite. You're inviting them to their personal growth journey or their professional growth journey. Whatever it is that they've indicated they want, that's exactly what they'll get from it, because what they put into it, they're going to get from it. And both of those can be had from Pathways. So just invite them in on it and make it easy for them to get started. The Start Here button and the quick onboarding checklist are designed to do that. It mentions Pathways. It points to the link to get there. It tells people to go there. But the whole point of it is not Pathways. The whole point of it is the icebreaker speech. Now, in the process of doing their icebreaker speech, of course, they have to get over the Pathways at some point, some way. They'll discover that, but they don't have to understand the whole picture before they get started. And the icebreaker is the easy place to start. And so we start with the icebreaker, and we allow them to get onto Pathways through that. So we don't explain Pathways, we just invite them. And in a way, we invite them by getting them on their first project, because by default, they're going to make their way into Pathways at some point to get credit. And even if they're not on Pathways yet, and they are working on the project because there are materials to do so on the internet, they're still going to want to get credit for it. And so once they say, well, how do I get credit for it? You say, well, I'll tell you exactly how to do that. And you just guide them right to Pathways, show them the screen, walk them into the screen, help them to do their first one. Once they've done that, they're off and running. They don't need help. And they'll be in a position to help other people who are newer than them in the future do the same thing that they did. And so you won't have to do it for everybody. All you have to do is just keep that culture going with the tell and also modeling. This is super important. The principle behind modeling is be the example. Okay. Share your own pathway and your own current project. Now, I was talking to one young man a couple of weeks back, and he said, well, I really haven't gotten into Pathways yet. I don't know. And he was worried about going into leadership because of that. And what I told him is what I tell everybody. I don't care if you are doing lots of Pathways. That's not my goal as a leader within my club, Ozark Orders, or even as it won't be as a Division A director. My goal is not to get people doing lots of Pathways. My goal is to get people on the pathway and let them proceed at their own pace. And so as long as a person's going in the right direction, which is on Pathways and taking one step at a time as fast as they're going, or slow as they want to go, they're in the right direction. They're picking up on it, and they're going to get out of it what they want to get out of it. So you should be on a project and on a step somewhere. And if you're not, no problem. You're in the right place because this is a perfect opportunity for you. And here's the reason why I like people who have not done pathways before and are starting to, or who have not understood it and done a little bit, but are just starting to do a little bit more, because you have learned how to get past what many people in Toastmasters still have not gotten. And because you have just been learning it and you've just been getting it, you will be much better at explaining to people who have not gotten yet how to get going in the right direction, because you very much are aware of what was holding you back, what were the thoughts that were holding you back, and you could help people who still have those kinds of thoughts move forward and evolve their thinking just as yours has just recently evolved, if it has recently evolved. So don't be afraid of sharing pathways, your pathway in your current project, even if you're only on your first level of your first pathway. That's fine. You're doing pathways. The whole point is not how many pathways you do. The whole point is doing pathways, because once you're doing pathways, you can go as fast as you want or as slow as you want. And that's everybody's personal choice. And everybody then has the opportunity to grow if they want to. So be proud of what you're doing with pathways. Even if it's your icebreaker, be proud that you're doing it. Talk about it. Talk about your speeches, and so you share it when you get up to give your project speech. You share it when you're just talking with people. You share it when you're preparing for the speech, and you want to ask somebody for some help with something. Just let them know you're working on pathways and what your current project is. And then take visible next steps. Let people see you doing these things. It's not showing off in a way where we're trying to be self-aggrandizing. We're not trying to draw attention to ourselves like we're so great doing things. What we're really doing is we're allowing people to see where our growth is coming from so that they can see what's available to them. It's a part of creating that culture. Once again, pathways is not a physical thing that we can carry in. We have to carry it in with our words and our actions. So let members see your growth journey. Here's the thing: if you're getting up and giving speeches, you're probably growing in some ways, no matter what kind of speeches you're giving. But when you start doing pathways, because each project has a particular point to it, and it's a well-rounded program, the growth is going to be even faster. So people are going to see from speech to speech that you're improving. And when you're talking about doing pathways and they see you improving, they're now associating growth with pathways without you even saying that. And so once again, it's just a way of bringing it into the culture. When leaders go first, others follow. And that's the key. It's just very simple. And anybody can be a leader in this way, even brand new members working on their icebreaker. They're already, in a sense, a leader of a pathways growth culture in their club, because they're working on pathways and they're on their personal growth journey within Toastmasters. Recognize is simply spotting and celebrating movement along a pathway. You're already doing this. You're already recognizing people for different reasons. Just bring pathways into those mentions where appropriate, when appropriate. Just always make sure you're mentioning pathways in different ways, in ways where people can see what's really actually going on. You can do it for icebreakers. Icebreakers is a great time to celebrate. We're really celebrating a milestone for people, and it's a great opportunity to really share that. That's big in our club. We've had a lot of new members. We've had lots of icebreakers, and we really build up people who do those icebreakers, and it's very exciting for everybody because everybody really just enjoys the icebreakers. We're learning about a new person, and the person is making a milestone for themselves. It's not a huge project, but for them it's a big deal, and we're helping them in that. And so it's a great place to really recognize people who do icebreakers. You can recognize level completions, and even if there aren't a lot of level completions, you can recognize that people are working towards them. Hey Joe, congratulations on, the Toastmaster might say, hey Joe, or hey Jane, this was your third project on your level 3 in your presentation mastery pathway. Good job. You're almost there, aren't you? How many more you have to go? Okay, you good job. So you're going to complete that level real soon. So you're congratulating things for the future if you don't have enough present ones. Personal growth milestones, and especially when you can tie in the pathways. In applause or shout outs or announcements, recognize people who have done things with pathways, who working on pathways, or who have done their first pathway, or who have done their second, or who have done their second level or their second project. Anything. Okay. This is a part of developing a growth culture, and we're putting the growth culture in, but we're also bringing pathways into the picture so people can understand where growth is going to come from for them. And keep it joyful and visible. Let people see it. You're putting a spotlight on it. It's simply talking about something that you value. Now, here's the growth point, and this is great for leaders because this is what we're supposed to lead people with. The growth point is it joyful? And if it's not joyful, why not? And don't fake it, but really get in touch of what it is that you're not liking about it, and really work through that and see what you can come to, because what you'll probably come to is a better understanding of pathways in its relevance to you. And you may not be overjoyed and thrilled about it, perhaps, or maybe you will be, but maybe you're just thinking, oh, well, this is kind of nice. Well, just say that. Well, this is kind of nice when you're talking to person. You know what? I think this is kind of nice about pathways, and just say what it is. You're keeping it joyful and visible, but you don't have to be phony about it. Then we want to make sure we're reinforcing. And reinforcing just means weave pathways into the meeting rhythm. Bring it up in mentions, from the podium, and wherever it's appropriate, work in a mention of pathways or something pathways related. Once again, the goal here is to make something visible that is not material. Okay, the pathways is an electronic thing somewhere far away from us, and we can call it to our fingertips if we want, but we won't remember it. So when we work in all these mentions, we're making something that is it's like values. If you want your kids to learn a certain value, what do you do in your home? You talk about those values. You point out when things are done in those values. You praise in those values. And pathways can be seen as one of the values of Toastmasters, because Toastmasters' value is to help people to grow personally and professionally, and pathways is how they do that. So weave pathways into the meeting rhythm. Mention it, the project title that you're working on when introducing speeches. Use the Start Here or Quick Start tools at every orientation. Oh, and you don't even have to use them in the orientations. At Ozark Orders, we talk about it right from the, I keep wanting to say pulpit, it's the podium. we talk about it right from the podium, and we just mentioned, here's the button, and we actually have a marker board behind us, and I always write that before the meeting starts. So I always, in the meeting, I always point at it, or somebody points at it and says, if you're new here, here's where you get started, and they just go to that Start Here button, and it walks them right through their icebreaker. Make small references feel routine. This is just making it natural and normal to you, and just make it start becoming a part of the way you talk. When it's normal, it's adopted. And that's the thing. We want to make it normal. We have to kind of start to build a habit, but the more we do it, the more it flows. But for people coming in, they read that as what the culture is, and then they adopt that quickly. And then you want to repeat. Okay, culture is built through consistency. It's not a one and done type of a thing. Anything in this tool is not a one and done. Rather, it's certain ways of talking about things, and certain things to highlight and point out in certain ways, so that we are able to build a mesh or a framework or a tapestry of personal growth within our club, and particularly pathways as a personal growth path within our club. So we're making a tapestry of threads, or we're growing a garden. We're planting every time we mention a praise, or every time we mention pathways, we're putting another seed in the garden. So one time mentioned, it will fade, but repetition will build memory. And the more repetition, the memory actually becomes a habit. So it becomes a memory of our body. We just do it. But habits do take time. But once formed, they flow. We no longer have to think about it. We no longer expend energy on it. It's just a part of who we are. Here's something really important to remember about all of this. What we're looking for is a shared culture, not a perfect one. Everyone's at a different place, and that's okay. It's okay if a person doesn't want to do pathways. That's okay. It's okay if people don't like pathways because they use books before. That's okay. Everyone's at a different place. It's okay. It's not a matter of forgetting people from the past by focusing on pathways. Pathways is the way things are done now, and new people deserve it. The same benefit that the people who've been around for a long time have. With people who were around for a long time with the books, they had the opportunity of having the books. And that was the growth program for Toastmasters. And that's fantastic. So when we build a pathways culture, it doesn't mean everybody has to participate in pathways. Ideally, they do, but everybody has a right to make their own decision within Toastmasters what they want to do for themselves. But they don't really have a right to hinder other people's growth. And so even if they don't want to do pathways themselves, it's not bad if they support pathways in talking about it, recognizing that that's not something for me. I did mine already, and I'm not really interested in doing this new thing here. But don't let that be at the expense of helping other people who don't have the old thing. Let them get their thing with what's there today. So, but not everybody has to be doing pathways. It would be great if they did, but there's never any group where everybody's at the same place, ever. And in fact, if everybody's at the same place, that means there's no growth going on. Because if you've got a growing club, you've got new people in there. If you've got new people in there, they're not at the same place as you are. You've got clubs where there are people that are there for decades and they've done wonderful things. We don't want them to be at the same place as new people either, but we don't need everybody to be at the same place. We just have more opportunities to weave people into the culture of growth of our Toastmasters Club. And this way, everybody belongs, everybody has value, and everybody can really mentor one another. The more experienced members with different learning materials can mentor new members with new kinds of materials, and new members with their new materials can actually, in some ways, mentor people who've been around for a longer time by bringing new perspectives in. And so everybody where they're at is perfectly fine. If in a growth environment, it's perfectly fine, because that means there are some people who are growing and there are some people who have grown. And really, in a growth environment, everybody's growing at different places. So it's good that we're all in a different place. That's okay. We don't have to define what it is and then demand everybody be there at the same time. It won't happen. And it's not worth it. It's actually dysfunctional. So we want to not force, but we want to lead by example. It doesn't take many people to do this, one or two people in a club, really going out there, working on a path one step at a time, whether it be fast or slow, but then always mentioning it, not bragging, but mentioning this project is for this purpose, and this is what I learned from that project, and just kind of bringing it in a way where you're allowing it to be seen by somebody who doesn't do it, so they can see what they're missing out on, or they may see that what they want is really in the pathway and they should get there too. Some will join in right away, others in their own time. And I don't feel like anybody should be forced. We're all adults. You have to be 18 to join Toastmasters. We're all adults, and we're all going to get out of what we put into it. But when new people come in, they don't know what to put into it until they know about pathways, and in pathways in a way where it's not a scary or a mysterious or a thing that isn't as good as it used to be. Rather, they want to be able to be connected to their growth today. New members, when they see it's modeled, they're going to follow it fast, because that's what Toastmasters is. As far as they know, Toastmasters has always been like that. So if you know what impression are you making on Toastmasters, you new Toastmasters? If people don't like pathways and they're talking about it in ways that are discouraging, new members are going to have a negative viewpoint of pathways. If people are seeing the culture where everybody's engaged in pathways, or at least there are some visible people in pathways talking about it, then they'll follow very fast with that as well. Once again, the principle is small hinges swing big doors. Any of these 5 aspects of tool number 3 are very small hinges. They can be done anytime, anywhere, and they should be thrown in liberally everywhere. Make it a game to do it. Have fun with it. When other people are doing it, when they're part of this and they know to do it and you see them doing it, praise that. Build them up for that. But really, a distinguished program, there's 2 big doors on the distinguished program. There's a couple little doors, yes, I know, but the real big doors that can really hold somebody back from getting into the distinguished status is membership and pathways. So those are the 2 big doors of the distinguished club program. There's a couple others, so don't let one of those little ones hit you on the backside because you missed it. But these big ones, you want to make sure that you're working on, and they all swing on just little tiny hinges. So all we need to do is we need to just make sure those little tiny hinges are oiled and aligned so they swing smoothly. And all these 5 elements of tool number 3 are just little tiny hinges that are going to swing the big door when they're all working together. So here's how to practically use these 5 tools, okay? Because these are, at this point, they're just kind of 5 words, but here's how we're going to tie it together. I'm going to call it a brainstorm grid. Make a brainstorm grid. Just take a sheet of paper and make 5 columns, and then label the top of the column for each element: tell, model, recognize, reinforce, and repeat. And then begin by, in the columns under the proper heading, write down what you're already doing in that way. You undoubtedly are doing something already. And so give yourself credit for it and build on what you're already doing, because it's probably already a habit. And then you might want to invite officers and members to brainstorm small, repeatable actions. And the way to do this in a way that's really helpful, easy to create new habits, is to tie the new habit to an old habit. And so you may want to build in the habit in your meeting agenda where the Toastmaster of the night is talking about the roles of the meeting, such as timer or grammarian. You also work into the agenda that the person announcing the speech is probably the Toastmaster, mentions about pathways and what pathways is. Or have the person talking about the roles in the speech mention, and there are going to be people doing speeches tonight, and they're working on pathways. Pathways is Toastmasters' personal growth program. Simple as that. Just add it in there and start doing it. And then just start with 1 or 2 habits in each column and build from there. The habits you already have, strengthen them, work a little bit more pathways and tension to them if there's not a lot of pathways and tension, but just start building from there. 1 or 2 habits a week is going to be 52 new habits in a year, or 26 and a half if you do one every other week. But if you just start with some little small habits, people are going to pick up on it, and it's going to carry on. It's going to get legs of its own, and it's going to run with it. And you won't even have to be engineering it. You can just fan it on. You can just encourage it on. That's a part of a growth culture. When you see people achieving and doing good things, you encourage them. And this is nothing different than that. Why this strategy works? Well, it builds on tools 1 and 2, the Start Here button and the Quick Start guide. The tool 1, tool 2 are tactics, but that gets them in and gets them going. But tool 3 gives new members a space to land and to grow. It creates we're bringing them into pathways with the icebreaker. We're connecting them into the rhythm of the club with the checklist. But where are they going to land? Are they going to land in a place where it's fixed and nothing's growing? That's not going to serve them. So we are getting them dressed for the party. Now let's have a party when they get there, right? We're dressing them in their icebreaker, and we're dressing them in just getting their first steps in pathways. When they come into the room now with those things, that's a great thing, because this is the party of that. So give them a place to land and grow with by building that culture within the club. And really, it turns onboarding into belonging. When we're talking culture, we're really talking about belonging. People are a part of a culture or not a part of a culture in varying degrees by how much they act or speak or conduct themselves within certain situations or in certain settings. And so you're giving people a way of belonging in a much easier way than having to come in and wonder what's going on, and then seeing people doing speeches and not knowing where they're getting the ideas, wondering where I'm going to get my ideas, and then seeing how they're doing really good. And it's like, oh, these people are really polished speakers. None of that's in Pathways. Pathways is all about growth. So we're really inviting them into belonging in the club. They belong from day one because what was it? Is it that it's important to do a lot of pathways fast? No, it's just important to do a step on a pathway as fast as you want to go. And they can do that from day one. In fact, that's what they're doing with the icebreaker. So they're already belonging in the culture of the club when that culture that we're inviting them into is what everybody else is doing as well. It makes growth magnetic. It's not forced. We're going to lose members if there's any kind of a forced growth, because that's not what they're there for. They're there to grow, but they don't. They want to grow at their own pace in their own way. They're looking for frameworks or guidelines to do that in, but they aren't coming to a place to be forced to do something now. And so they want to grow. That's why they're there. And what we just have to do is show them the framework for it, and then help them into it, and then help them along. A Toastmasters meeting is very much a group coaching experience when it's done well. You've got different people at different levels helping each other along from where they're at now to the next step. And Pathways is a wonderful framework to do that on purpose with. So this week's action step: create your 5-column grid. Nice and simple. Doesn't have to have a lot of things on there, only a couple of points. You don't have to have a point under every column. Just start building it in. Make it look like a little matrix and make it a game to fill in over time. Bring club leaders into it and have everybody kind of do it as a group effort. We've got the club success plan is coming up. We're going to have to make sure we get that done by September 30th. And really, it's a planning tool for clubs. So we might as well have it at the beginning of the year instead of at the end of the first quarter of the year. So make it a fun part of the club success plan to start working out your culture building plan. And you can use this framework as a part of that. And then you'll get your club success plan in, and then you'll be able to, you will be eligible for getting a distinguished status for your club. Because once again, I think everybody's here has heard me mention it, and I'm sure you've heard it from other people. But this year, it's a requirement to do that CSP, and that has to be done by September 30th. Otherwise, there will be no eligibility for Pathways, even for Distinguished Club, even if the club were to do 1,000 levels and get 10,000 new members, they would not get distinguished. So without that CSP. So definitely get the CSP, and what better time to do this, to start working this tool number 3 in than at the CSP. So use it to your advantage and get that CSP going too. But it starts with your 5-column grid if you want to do that. But it starts with starting to do some of these things on purpose and planning to do it. Fill it in your 5-column grid with small ideas. Try starting one new habit this week. See what happens. If it doesn't work, then don't do it. But see what happens. What's more likely to happen is if it didn't work, you'll see what you should have done different, and then it'll become a growth tool for you. And invite your club officers to add their own ideas. So what's next? Tool 4, the A student strategy. This is the strategy that people who get straight A's in school use to get straight A's. They still have to do the work, but it's how they know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And because of that, they don't spin their wheels on useless activities and then have to catch up, which is almost never possible at the end. So you can become a President's Distinguished with not much trouble. In fact, it's easy. You do have to do the work, but when you have an intentional plan and you know what's going to count and what's not going to count in the way that it's done, it's so much easier. And so once again, this is a great time to be bringing this into the CSP process, the A student strategy. So that's next. You're going to learn how to grow your club and hit presidents distinguished with a smart, intentional plan. Will you hit presidents distinguished? You could. Absolutely. It's not magic. It's entirely doable. You do have to do the work. But with this A student strategy, you'll know what you need to do to make that happen on purpose. And then you have to work. And then we'll show you how to make every effort count in that A student strategy. So just a couple of reflections as you think of some questions that you might have for me. But a question you might ask yourself, just pay attention to what stood out to you today. Was there some idea that really struck you as great or as terrible? And really sit with that and try to get in touch with it, because it caught your attention for some reason, and it probably means it's this place for you to start. It's the most relevant to you. That's why it caught your attention right off the bat. So start working this from that angle. If something sounded terrible, well, what would have been better? How could this be better? And then try that. And what's one culture building habit your club could try this week? If you've done your grid, you probably already have an idea. But just if you haven't done the grid, you don't want to do it, you might just reflect. Well, what is one cultural building habit we can do this week? Once again, and as always, thanks for being part of this shift. And I'll open it up for questions. And I'll stop the share on purpose this time. All right. Well, thank you. Do we have any questions? Yes, Marilyn.
When I think of pathways, sometimes, and I think a long time ago, I may have even done a speech on it. I think of, because I grew up in the Wizard of Oz era, I guess. But, and so I think of, follow your yellow brick road. And so basically we're following the pathway. And I was thinking on the reflection on the grid, could we actually use that, not every week, obviously, but do a little celebration? Oh, you've done your second one here. You've really did a great job, and you're
100%, 100%.
When you get to the club success plan and stuff like that.
If you want to do it intentionally, work it into your club success plan, and then work your plan. But it doesn't have to be in there. You could just make a plan informally and then work your plan informally. But yeah, Marilyn, you've got it. Just start bringing it. It's the yellow brick road. So every time you praise somebody or something, you're adding another little brick, another little golden brick on your road.
Oh, yeah.
So build your road. You're a leader, right? So build your road one brick at a time. And any of these 5 is a brick in that road. Very nice. I love that metaphor, Marilyn. Thank you. Yes, Sherry.
This is something that we do in our club. And if it's something you want to use, but when we do our introductions, and we started this way back when Pathways was new, because people suddenly didn't know what the purpose of that speech was supposed to be. So the person who emails this information to the Toastmaster that does the introductions, and you give them the title, you give them the time, you give them what path and what level and the purpose of that speech is. And all of that is folded in, and then whatever other brief information that's given before that speech. And that's one of the ways that, everybody knows what's going on in terms of the pathway and the level and what path they're in as well.
Perfect. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
We started putting that on we do name tents. And so we started putting people's pathway on their name tent.
Good, nice, very nice way to bring it into the culture. Anybody who's not familiar looks around, they see it, they may wonder what that is. Somebody will tell them, and then every time they look at a name tent, they know Pathways is a part of this culture. Perfect, Sherry, and that's a great idea, and that's something that's very easy to work in, and you make it intentional, and then it just happens. So good job. Thank you for sharing that. Any other questions, thoughts? I see Toto's been listening very carefully all night. So we have our own little Toto. I'm sure the name is not Toto, but just to fit the metaphor.
Very friendly, too.
Yeah, she's sweet. Or he's sweet. I think it's a she, but I don't know. Any other questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, fears?
Great presentation.
Thank you, Frankie. Appreciate that.
I really like the subtle way of trying to build that into the culture. I think that's
Can't hear you, Patty.
Oh, it was.
oh, that's because my mic was
There you go.
over my head.
There you go.
When I was drinking my cocoa, I couldn't have that there. But yeah, that subtleness of always kind of bringing in pathways and letting them, well, what's pathways versus trying to cram it. You know, you got a visitor and you say, oh, this is, you got to pick a path and there's 6 paths and da 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 da, and they get the glassy-eyed look.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So I like that you're putting those subtle hints there, what our program is.
Right.
And
we're just, it's just a natural human process for learning a culture, fitting into a culture, what a culture, even how it develops. We're just taking that same process and we're doing it on purpose in our club. And it is very subtle. It just takes place naturally. And the more we do it, the more natural it becomes. You know, when a person comes into a culture, to get everything thrown on them at once because we're unsure about it and we're insecure, it becomes then something that puts us off. But when it's very subtle, what's more subtle than you just doing it naturally, then we can absorb it, and that's when it really happens fast. Thank you, Patty. Any other questions or thoughts? And building on what Patty said, keep it subtle. You don't want anything too big. It's a gardening. You're scattering seeds. You don't know what's going to grow, how fast it's going to grow. You just keep scattering. It's your little golden bricks you're putting on your yellow brick road. There's a little more intentionality to that metaphor, so I like that too. Just keep laying bricks. And don't worry who's going to be walking that road. Just keep laying the bricks. All righty. Any other thoughts or questions? I think I'm missing some people here. My screen is.
So,
Oh, there we go. Okay.
so pathways is a lifestyle change.
It is a lifestyle change, but it's a change back to what it was, just a different form.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a rediscovering the strengths that are a part of Toastmaster that were before. But we're just rediscovering how it fits, how it's being done today. And whether it's better or worse or good or bad, it doesn't make a difference. That's what it is. And so as leaders, we work with what is. Not, we don't work with what we don't have, we work with what we have. And we use that to bring us where we're going. And we want to bring people to their personal growth journey. And so bringing them to pathways is the way we do that as leaders.
Mhm.
Nice.
So that's what I used to teach when I was a practicing dietitian. I mean, people say, oh, I want to lose 10 pounds. Well, you're not going to do it overnight. No.
Exactly. But if you start making some subtle changes, if you make big changes, you might do it for a little bit, but then it won't happen. But if you start making subtle changes, then it starts to happen. Then you're working it in. It becomes a part of your culture, your own personal culture of the way you're eating, I suppose, or something else that you're doing, exercising.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Marilyn. That's what we're talking about. Any other questions? I wasn't seeing everybody's hands before, so if anybody had a hand up, I'll be happy to answer a question. All right, we're 7:59 according to my clock computer, and I'll be happy to answer another question, or we can go ahead and close it.
And then you send out the handouts in a few days then, right? Or next
Yeah. This time I'm getting better. Every time I do these, I learn more. So I've already wrote my recap, and I learned a new way to do my slides, so I don't have to weed out all my transitions. And so they're like ready to go. So I'll probably be out for you tomorrow, late tonight or early tomorrow. But yeah, they're going to become faster this time. Awesome. I love double hands up. I know life is good if Frankie's giving me double thumbs up. Thank you. All right, folks. Thank you so much. Really a pleasure to be with you here tonight. Bye-bye. And
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye now.
Good night.
Have a good evening.
Richard, good to see you again. Okay. Marilyn, good to see you again. Okay. Patty, thank you so much.
Yeah. No, great, great presentation.
Thank you.
You're just doing a great job and really helping us because there's,